you didn't guess by the title of the video, as I meander through these massive boulders around me, today we're going to talk about how to film rock climbing, specifically how to film bouldering.
This is the good life, soak in the good vibes, we're living out our dreams.
So filming rock climbing is actually a little different than filming any other sort of outdoor sport. I think in a lot of outdoor sports you can get away with selling the lifestyle of the sport, such as with surfing. If you have beautiful peeling waves and it's sunset and you get a wide shot of the beach, it'll kind of look awesome and you can tell a story that way. For skiing, if you're at the lodge, you're getting some lifestyle elements, you can tell the story that way. For climbing, you kind of lose the magic unless you go specific. With rock climbing, specifically bouldering, you kind of need that specificity for people to understand what you're going through as a climber and why this route may be different than any other route that you see. Non-climbers, it's a little difficult to understand why you're climbing this rock, why this one's important, why this area is magical. Your job as a filmmaker is to communicate why this route is special, and you do that through specificity. The more specific you are, the greater chance you have to capture the emotions of the climber and communicate those emotions to your audience. See, it's in that specificity that you're able to communicate those emotions that your rock climber is filmmaking, the person in front of the camera is experiencing, to the audience that's watching your film. Even if you're making a film specifically for rock climbers, it's important to tell the specifics of what your climber is doing. So these tips will kind of walk you through how I capture the specifics, how I make it look good, and why filming bouldering matters. One continuous theme that I preach over and over on this channel is capturing a sequence regardless of what type of outdoor discipline that you're filming. To capture a sequence, I always think through having a beginning, middle, and end of every scene that I'm filming. In each beginning, middle, and end, I'm capturing at least, but at the minimum, a wide, medium, and tight shot. For bouldering, I also like to include an extra tight shot because I feel like capturing the specifics are really important. Having a wide, medium, tight, and extra tight shot allows you to cut between these sections seamlessly and create a cohesive narrative for your film to follow. If you just have wide shots, you won't be able to tell the story as effectively as possible. When it comes to capturing those scenes, I always like to think of capturing the lifestyle of rock climbing, especially with bouldering. I think the lifestyle of bouldering is pretty magical. You have friends just sitting at the base of the crag, cheering you on, spotting you. It's a very social environment, and capturing that lifestyle is incredibly important. Capturing the audio of people at the crag cheering the climber on, or getting those close-up shots of somebody catching somebody as soon as they fall. All of those moments are really important, and I think capturing the lifestyle of it can really bring that magic of bouldering to life in a different way other than what is happening on the rock. Now that you're aware of these wide, medium, tight, extra tight concept, you're capturing the lifestyle, my next tip is to be really specific and get the beta from the climber on what the climbing moves are for this specific route. So you're up here on those jugs and then transfer over. What's like a good handhold on this side to capture?
You see that right hand? Right there?
That one?
Yeah, right there.
That little crimp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to capture that, and then I kind of like cross in.
Okay.
Do you want me to do it from the start or?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Every rock climb has some move where the fingers are gonna end up, the foot's gonna be placed very intentionally. With bouldering, there's not a lot of moves. So understanding exactly where that hand is gonna be placed, where those eyes are gonna be looking, can help you anticipate what the climber is going to do and capture it in the best way possible. This is also a really fun way for you as the filmmaker to feel involved in what the climbers are doing. Sharing betas are a very common thing amongst the climbers that are climbing a specific route. And you as the filmmaker, you may not be climbing that specific route if it's at a level far beyond your ability, which for me as a solid V3 boulderer, I'm not climbing V6 and above. So feeling like I'm getting specific beta from the climbers is actually a kind of fun way for me to feel like I'm a part of the process as well.
Yeah, it looks so satisfying.
Thanks.
Nice, dude.
Nice. Come on.
Come on.
And then press off your, yeah.
That's so high.
There you go. You got it. You got it.
Come on. Go big. Yeah.
Yes, Rue, come on.
Yeah, that's it.
Come on, Rue. You flashed it.
Sure, if there's time, I'll typically hop on a route myself, but typically there's a bit of a gap in the people that I'm filming's ability and my ability, so I typically don't get very far up the route. But getting the beta from the climbers is a really fun way for you as a filmmaker to feel involved in the process nonetheless. All right, so now you've thought about the wide, medium, tight concept, thinking through capturing a sequence. You've thought about capturing the lifestyle component of it. You've gotten the beta from the climbers, and it's time for them to start climbing. What matters now is keeping the horizon level. Cool, man. So as he's going up, I'm really trying to consciously think about keeping that horizon level to make sure, right, this is a really overhung route. So if I start to skew my horizon level, that'll make the climb look different than it actually is. Especially as I start to pan up, I'm really cognizantly thinking, hey, let's keep that level in line. This is a great camera because it actually shows where you start to skew. If the lines are green and in the middle, that means your horizon is properly level. I find that when I film climbing, especially when you start to pan up as the boulderer reaches the top of the route, it's pretty easy to start to shift the camera because the wall is shifted. Naturally, I think our brains want things to be straight, and so as the route is overhung, you will compensate your camera and make it look flat, and that is not what you want to do. The second you do that, you actually start to change the authentic nature of what the climber is doing. If you change your horizon level, that overhung route suddenly may look a lot less overhung or a lot more overhung depending on which way you're tilting your camera. My personal philosophy is to respect the ethics of what the climbers are doing and not make things look more or less difficult because of my specific camera angle. If it's really challenging for the climber, I think there's ways to do that other than just turning your camera one way or the other. The way to make a route look challenging and to portray the gravity of how challenging it is for that specific climber, use voiceover, use interviews, be really specific about certain shots that you're choosing and craft that narrative in the edit rather than tilting your camera one way or the other. One huge challenge about filming bouldering is the exposure changes between the shadow of the rock and the sky in the background. This is sort of a constant battle on filming something with such a huge difference in exposure values. So something that I'm always trying to consider. Actually, let's let him finish.
Strength from pulling points. Nice.
I love it. So casual V8. Dude, nuts. Yeah, so I'm really trying to be cognizant of the exposure and where the subject is and making sure the subject is exposed. Sometimes you just have to be blowing out your background. Sometimes you might have to be playing the balance of where the exposure's lying on underexposing your subject or overexposing your subject. I think ultimately what's important at the end of it all is making sure what you want to be exposed is exposed properly. If you want the sky to be exposed to show the landscape in the background, make sure you're exposing for that. And you can have your subject silhouetted, or if you're trying to expose for your climber, make sure their climber's exposed well, even if that means the background is blown out.
This is like that dynamic range test of a lifetime.
If you're filming for a commercial, or you're being a little more intentional about which climb you can film, picking one that has even exposure values all across the front of the climb, that's even with the background, can be a great way to help mitigate this if you're filming for a little bit more of a polished commercial look. All right, so now that the climbers are out at the crag, I figured I would walk you through the specific gear that I bring to film bouldering. So like I said, I shoot everything on the Sony a7S III. I think this is amazing for its image quality, for its battery life, its autofocus, its wide dynamic range. I just think all around, it's a fantastic run and gun camera and captures rock climbing and the adventurous nature of it in a very good and efficient way. I typically bring 4 lenses with me to capture bouldering. The first lens that I use is the 24-105 f4. This is a wide range of focal lengths and allows me to go very quickly and capture a lot of different focal lengths on one specific climb if there's likely only going to be 1 attempt or 2 attempts at it for a flash or a specific send attempt. This is an awesome lens to partner with a B camera off to the side to get a lot of different variations of focal lengths to cut between. I would say it's probably my favorite lens. My B cam, I typically use the Sony a7 III. I'll set this off to the side and capture a wide shot of the send attempt, the flash attempt, or the climber going for the top. This is my first mirrorless camera, and honestly, it still holds up by today's standards. I think it's pretty fantastic. It's been worn down and beaten down a bit, But as far as filmmaking goes, it produces an image that still works. Although I don't choose to shoot a lot of major big budget productions on this camera, it does work as a B camera for interviews or for wide shots capturing the entire climb. The lens that I have on this camera right now is a 14mm prime lens to capture super wide angle perspectives. I love this especially for a top-down angle because you can get really amazing shots to show the scale of the climb and get all of the climber in the shot from above. Sometimes I'll just climb around the top and I'll hop up to the top of the climb and shoot the climber coming down. And it does allow for a really cool perspective of fingers reaching the top or climbers attempting a really big move. So I love wide angle lenses for that reason. Another lens that I use pretty frequently is my 35mm f1.8. It's very small and compact, and I actually have a lot of step-up rings and a Pro Mist filter at the end. The reason I keep the Pro Mist filter on is I like the glow, I like the look of a Pro Mist filter, especially on the 35. For whatever reason, I love this focal length on a prime lens, and I feel like it captures rock climbing really well, especially for the detail shots of hands or feet hitting a specific area. Because bouldering is typically very accessible for you as a filmmaker to access the area that you want to film by just walking over to the hold or walking over to the area where the climber is going to be, having the versatility of a zoom lens is great, but having the fast, shallow depth of field of a prime lens is also really beneficial. The final lens I may bring with me is an 85mm f1.8 as well. Honestly, I would say this is probably my least used lens out of all of the lenses that I bring along for bouldering, typically because the shallow depth of field from an 85 on one hold means you may only get one finger or two fingers in focus, which again, for certain holds looks awesome, but for a lot of holds, I don't want to be so specific that I miss focus on what actually matters. Because the compression in such a shallow depth of field, it looks amazing and cinematic, whatever that may mean, but sometimes it actually becomes too shallow of focus for me to effectively film what I want to be filming. So I think it's a fantastic lens, but if I were to only bring 3 lenses with me and not this one, it would be the 35, the 14, and the 24-105. Then, of course, because audio is important, I will bring my trusty lavalier microphones. These are the Tascam DR10L lavalier microphones, and I love them. You can stick them on the climber, kind of forget about it for 6 or 7 hours, go back and sync the audio later. I think it's fantastic. That is what this big fluffy thing on my coat is. It is also a Tascam DR10L, and I love them, and they're probably my favorite piece of equipment in my camera bag. So you may notice that there's actually not a drone in my camera bag to film bouldering, and it's actually intentional. I typically only bring my drone to capture the scale and the essence of a landscape. I think bringing a drone to film bouldering actually does the difficulty of the boulder a disservice by kind of warping its size and making it look really small compared to the vast landscape that it's located in. Like I mentioned before, I think the greatest thing about filming rock climbing is in its specificity. And when you start to lose the specifics by placing this boulder in a large landscape, it makes it look smaller in comparison to what it actually may feel like for the climber. And of course, drone shots look awesome, and I think they can be useful from time to time. For today, I just didn't bring it because I didn't think it would feel relevant to the story that we're telling. Which again, goes back to what is the story that you're telling and how can these shots serve that story the best way possible. We're in Red Rocks, there's a huge landscape here, and this boulder, while very famous and may look really iconic from close up, kind of becomes small in comparison to all of these big rocks and big mountains around me. All right, Ozzy, you got this, man.
All right, here we go, here we go. Done. I'm so done.
Dude, making moves, baby steps, you know? You're gonna get up there eventually. I love it. So sick. My final tip for the video is that storytelling matters when it comes to filming bouldering. I've already mentioned a little bit about specificity and why I believe that's important, but even the overall story that you're portraying and that you're communicating to your audience is important. One of my favorite story archetypes is somebody wants something and has to overcome something to get it. Bouldering is an amazing framework to communicate these types of stories. Maybe this climber has been projecting this specific route for months. Maybe this is their first time in this new area and they want to try something new. They want to push themselves. They want to develop their character. They want to develop their strength. And they need to overcome the limitations of the route in order to do that. It's an amazing framework for storytelling, and I think that's why there's some really amazing rock climbing films out there that showcase the intricacies of bouldering. Because I think what matters more than the specific moves that you're portraying or the specific route that you're filming is the human emotions that go along with it. Storytelling matters, and these human emotions that we can share with our audiences, whether they be defeat or challenge or motivation and determination or sadness or grief, all of these emotions have a place. And if you can communicate that through your bouldering film and through your rock climbing film, hopefully these tips made a difference. Just like any other outdoor discipline, is an amazing backdrop for the stories that we tell. But more so than the amazing shots that you can get by keeping your horizon level, getting the beta from the climbers, focusing on wide, medium, tight, and extra tight shots of hands and feet and the whole entire route, what matters more than all of that is the emotions that go along with it. You can really communicate something special and memorable to your audience. And if you follow these tips, I hope that you can take them and make a really amazing rock climbing video. But just remember that even if things look good, if it doesn't have a meaningful story to go along with it, it may fall short. So think about capturing an interview of the climber before and after. Think about having a voiceover of the climber talking about why this is an important route to them. Consider your music choice before you go out and film to capture the essence of what that song is going to portray. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to check out other videos on this channel about adventure filmmaking or rock climbing or storytelling, there's stuff for you there to watch. If you want to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, that would mean a lot to me. My email's in the description if you have any questions, or feel free to leave a comment. I'm always happy to engage with you all, and I will see you in the next one.
If he just smile, yeah, if we just smile.